Okay, we'll call this meeting town board together. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody tonight. First item of business, approve the minutes of the December 28th, January 3rd, and January 11th town board meetings. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll second it.
Councilman Alexander, Councilman Rounds, discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Report of officers, town clerk.
Monthly report for January 2023. Marriage license fees of $17.50. Fax fees, $10. Certified copies and genealogy copies, $102. Landfill and punch card fees, $16,533. Short-term rentals, $3,000. Dog licensing, $184. Building permits of $140.50. Total local shares remitted, 19,987.
Okay, supervisors report, total monies on hand, $3,718,613.55. Assessor.
Assessor report for February. Due to the new law signed by the governor on December 23rd, municipalities throughout New York State are now required to send additional second notices to property owners advising them that they may qualify for low-income senior exemption. First notice regarding senior exemptions are on the backside of the January property tax bills. The new law requires that every residential property owner receive a second notice regardless if they already have the exemption or not. Instead of letters, we're able to include their request information on postcards, which save the town considerable supply and postage fees. These postcards are mailed out on Friday, January 20th, which save the town additional postage fees due to the raising rates starting the fourth week of January. In all, just shy of 1,600 notices were sent out. As of this writing, we have already received a fair amount of phone calls or visits from confused seniors asking about the second notice postcards. It takes a little time to assure that those already have the low-income senior exemption that they are okay and that they can ignore the notice. And that is a new law requirement 2023. On the positive side, there have been a few first-time applications to qualify for the senior exemption filed. Analysis of sales over the past few years indicates that the residential property values in Warrensburg, as well as the other neighboring towns, are still on the increase. We are working with the Office of Real Property Tax Services over the next few weeks to finalize the town's 2023 equalization rate. Due to the fact that property values have been on the increase, it may be prudent to start discussion regarding a possible reassessment of the town. Respectfully, Greg Klingler.
Okay, Justice.
Just for February, Judge Fisk heard 30 cases, collected fines of $2,195, fees of $280, and $981 in surcharges. Judge Ferrillo heard 83 cases, collected $6,275 in fines, $90 in fees, and $3,017 in surcharges. Total cases in January, 99 cases. Total dollars received in January, $12,838. Town share for December, $6,764.
Okay. No dog control report this month, so that's a good sign. Planning Department.
There were 6 land use and development permits issued the month of January. The planning board nor the zoning board have a meeting this month due to lack of applications.
Okay, Enforcement Officer.
Renewed short-term rental permits, which expired December 31st, 22. After a lengthy search to locate the property owners for 13 and 15 Sweet Road, they were notified to be in court on February 22nd to settle the property maintenance issues up there. Discussed with the Green Mansions Board regarding one of their units. Spent a large amount of time last month with various persons regarding 7 Beswick Drive and 129 Library Avenue Extension. 7 Beswick Drive has severe conditions which would make it uninhabitable. Plastic is stapled across the ceiling, is currently bulging with frozen water, which will, in warmer weather, become a black mold issue. Parts of the floor are missing. The doors were wide open and boarded up by code enforcement. The roof is completely shot. Warren County Building Codes advised that a structural engineer would need to look at this location before any permits are issued. The owner was advised it has to meet the codes or be removed from the property. 129 Larrabee Avenue is in much of the same condition. The second mobile home on 7th in Beswick has a tarp as a roof repair, which is not the code, and the owner was so advised of that. I checked daily on a U-dig for 81 Larrabee Avenue. The U-dig expired on January 12th. No permit was done for the septic work, and no septic work has been observed at that location. Sent a warning notice to the owner of 60 Lake Avenue for property maintenance. As directed, took pictures of the current condition of the grist mill remains. They were forwarded to the town attorney. Had car removed from Main Street from overnight parking. Placed warning notices on 3 more parked cars on Main Street from midnight to 6 parking on January 24th. Asked the dog warden to look at the dogs on Sweet Road. Advised the owner of a Main Street business to tell the plow company to stop burying the fire hydrant. They said they would do that. Attended the comprehensive planning meeting. Continued to work with Warren County Taxation to find good addresses for persons who have a Warren County occupancy tax collection number, but not a town of Warrensburg permit, when we are gaining ground in that area. Have responded to additional complaints of vehicles parked on town roads between midnight and 6 a.m. Next step will be a court date for some who have been previously warned.
Thanks, Jim. Beautification.
Teresa Whalen, beautification, making a difference in our community program recognition. Thank you to Equity Lifestyle Properties and the Lake George Escape RV Campground for recognizing Warrensburg Beautification as an organization whose efforts positively impact the lives of those in our community. We have been working since the mid-1980s to preserve, revitalize, and beautify the town of Warrensburg, for many years known as the Queen Village of the Adirondacks, and look forward to continue our efforts through partnerships to preserve the town's natural and man-made environment, foster pride, and create educational and economic opportunities. Welcome to Warrensburg article in the Capital Region Living magazine. Thanks to our own Kim Moore, former owner of Deadwood Mountain Trading Company, for recommending our town. Capital Region Living released a feature article in the current issue about our historic hamlet and how we are much more than just a drive-through community. The article was originally to appear in the holiday issue featuring Christmas in Warrensburg, but was transformed featuring Warrensburg as a 4-season community that has much to offer year-round, including major events, amazing food, elegant historic accommodations, a ski center that has year-round activities, and is strategically located to other regional venues like Lake George, Core Mountain, and Points North. The article will hopefully help Warrensburg become less of a best-kept secret and more of a destination. Warren Tannery Park and Heritage Trail update. The joint committee composed of members of Warrensburg Beautification, myself and Peggy Knowles, and the Historical Society, Paul Gilchrist and Mark Brown, met with Jim Lieberman of Warren County Soil and Water and Tracy Benoit of our Parks and Recreation Department to share updates on a new approach to develop the park and trail. Phase 1 would include town parking on the Electric Avenue entrance, clearly identified. Bob Bradley has offered to stake the property boundaries on the Electric Avenue side of that area. So the town will know exactly, what we own. 350-foot grass path / trail to the overlook versus stone, which we had considered last year. Signage at the Electric Avenue entrance and the overlook. Picnic table near the Bob Knowles Memorial Tree location. Bench at the overlook. The committee would like to request permission of the town to have a licensed tree service remove trees. We're talking about approximately 10 trees, diameter between 3 and 5 inches, obstructing the view of the river at the overlook site, with the understanding that the town would continue to mow the grass and remove brush near the trail. The cost of the tree removal, signage, picnic table, and bench will be paid for by WBI and WHS. Please refer to the GIS map of the trail with contours. It also has the location of the overlook. That was the map that Jim Lieberman did with gentleman from Queensbury. The goal would be to have the work done in the spring for this year. So basically, we're requesting to be able to have a few trees removed to see the view of the river.
Okay. Let's see, economic development, highway.
Highway. The month of January, we've been very busy plowing and sanding storms on the 12th, the 13th, the 17th, the 20th, the 21st, and a 10-inch snowstorm on the 23rd. Freezing rain and light snow on the 26th and 27th, and the 30th and the 31st. We've taken down all the Christmas decorations throughout town. The new chipper has arrived, and we continue to cut back roads in between storms. We have moved snow around schools and have patched potholes throughout the town. Respectfully submitted, Ed Pennick.
Okay, economic development.
Our February report. At our recent meeting, we began to diversify our approach to move the community forward. Utilizing the previous master plan as a guide, we can direct activities to stay in line with the overall town objectives. We've also decided to have each EDC member lead a meeting with their topic of expertise as the main issue for that month. Overall, this is expected to lead our efforts in a positive direction with a broader scope. Another decision was recently made to hold as many as 2 community mixers with our business community in concert with our Chamber of Commerce. The first date has been recommended for May, and we are looking at options for a venue. Our goal is to increase interest in the business community as to how we can work together. The conversation touched on various subjects, including municipality challenges, work from home developments, enhancing local recreational opportunities, and Warrensburg's need for more residential housing. We also hope to identify real estate that may be conducive for attracting businesses to the community. We thank Sandy Parisi for her involvement with the WEDC and appreciate her continued work in our community as our historian. With Sandy stepping down from the WEDC, we would welcome anyone who would like to participate. We also appreciate Linda Marcella joining in our effort. Our next meeting will be March 6th, and we continue to work on grant efforts to bring some money back to the town of Warrensburg. Thank you, Rich Larkin.
Okay. No landfill. We didn't get all the bills. Historian.
Sandy Parisi, Town Historian. Meetings attended Warrensburg Historical Society, Town Board, Warren County Historians meeting in Lake George discussing the plans for the future Revolutionary War celebration, and I attended the Warren County Historical Society annual meeting on January 22nd. I have started updating with members of the Historical Society the book that Steve and I worked on, which was published in 2013 for the bicentennial. We have run out of the second printing and will be updating and printing a 3rd edition, hopefully by the end of this year. I met with a student from high school who is working with Mr. Burns' class on the history of Warrensburg. Each group picked a time, and his was the late 1700s. Unfortunately, there is not a lot, but we found enough that he was able to come up with a report. I continue entering the graduates from Warrensburg in the Ancestry program. I also continue working on the Cindy Needham donation. It is a huge, huge amount of information and will take at least a year to go through it and file. What information does not relate to Warrensburg or Thurman, I will be passing on to the appropriate towns. Sarah Farrar came in doing research on her family. The new owner of the Emerson House came in looking for information on the house. I went to Mary Cranker's house to meet her son, Jim. Mary is now in a nursing home. He wanted to know if me or the museum wanted anything, as they are putting the house up for sale. He will be gathering Stan's photographs and slides to donate to the museum. We will plan an exhibit for the museum. Due to museum being closed, I continue working at my office on Thursdays. January and December, which apparently came in late, were not reported previously. Deaths. Marilyn R. Ott, Kathleen Damp Wright in December, In January, John Eagle, Joseph O. Castro, and Marilyn Herrick. Office hours 62 3/4, volunteer Shara Bavona for 2 days. Also, apparently I'm quite unique at the Glen because they've asked me to video being a town historian. They want to come to the museum. They want to take the tours, even though they're video tours. I don't know if I'm going to have enough time to do it all, but anyway, it's fun. So thank you.
Okay, very good. Laura?
Museum report. For January, I had 3 visitors. 2 visitors, individual called me and asked if I would open the museum for them on a Saturday, and I happily did that. Right now, we are working on obtaining our 2023 memberships. We're up to over 71 general memberships at this point. In January, I attended the comprehensive plan meeting for our steering committee. We reviewed the vision statement and goals, and then we're still working through the 3 issues of housing, recreation, and promoting Warrensburg. I had an inquiry from Pam Moran from the Luzerne Historian. She inquired about our quilt rack. She's interested in taking that up for their museum. And then in reference to events that are up and coming, our society annual meeting is on February 23rd at 7 p.m. We are working on a bingo project to be held in the future. Our chicken barbecue with the VFW will be held on July 14th. Our Sticky Wicket will be held on August 19th. Working on setting up garage sale projects, hopefully raffle something, or again, I sold books last year and it worked out very well. Thurman Fall Tour, that's a good event for us to participate in, is the Museum, the Society. Museum will be open. The season starts on May 27th and May 28th, the Memorial Day weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Parks and Rec.
February. Cleaned up snow from several snowstorms, including a 12-inch storm on January 23rd. We also removed snow from parking lots to make room for future storms. Sign of the community garden is being repaired and painted along with a bunch of picnic tables. We're trying to get the ice skating rink going, but the warm weather is not cooperating.
Sewer?
January sewer report. Pump station C called out for high water multiple times. We back flushed each pump to flush out any debris. Replaced the door handles on pump station B and C. Sewer plant called for high water. The float and for the mechanical bar rack were stuck from debris. Chlorine shutoff valve was leaking. We replaced the shutoff valve with our rumble. Water report. Water was turned off at the street for 3 customers. 1 meter was repaired for a leak. Several customers were called so we could investigate high water usage. The hydrants on Apple Lake Road were flushed to keep fresh water in the dead end line and not out of usage this time of year. Soda ash pump was swapped out and the piping replaced due to wear and tear. We're working on our yearly reports to the DOH DEC.
And also, and youth, we do sponsor the ski program that's run at school, and we had 1 full scholarship we paid for this year, and we had 10 reduced rates. So we had 11 attendees, I believe, at the ski program that's held at Gore Mountain, and Gore Mountain gives us a reduced rate. Library, you want to get up?
Sue Matzner for the library. We have upcoming events. I have a new brochure that I can leave for anyone who's interested, detailing some of what's going on, including our history. The library is over 120 years old. Started 1901 by the Kellogg sisters. We have story time once a week. We are offering Intro to Tech. We had a program earlier this month on how to use parental controls. We have someone at the library who is a tech guru, who is very happy to help anyone at any time, in addition to the open times that he's there, or we have scheduled programs. We've got craft workshops, we've got Lego days that are open to all kids. So we are really trying to make a difference. We do offer computers for people to come in. They can borrow them for a half an hour at a time. If no one is coming in after them, they can stay longer, but the recommended time is 30 minutes. Again, with support for those who need them. And we have a grant through Southern Adirondack Library Systems, where we have someone who's going to be going for training to be able to assist seniors in all aspects of computing. And we look forward to providing more information as that becomes available. So if anyone is interested in a calendar, I'm more than happy to pass them out, as well as a brochure.
Yeah, we can take those and we'll get them out and
Super.
we'll make sure. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Okay, any other communications? I didn't have any this month. Okay. New business. Need a motion to approve the resolution to clean up the property at 91 River Street. This is a property that we've had several code violations, and now we have to take it one further and need to take it into court. So do I get a motion to approve this resolution? Motion by Rich. Just take a
Brief discussion.
Yep.
Bring the public up to speed. We got leaned on a little bit heavy because this is across from the grist mill, am I right?
This property is, yes, behind, it's by the old coal park down there. And we are trying to get that whole area cleaned up. So
Right.
that's why we're having to do this. Yes. This is 91 River.
So we're not singling anybody out. We're just trying to get.
Oh, no. If you listen to Jim's report, we get a lot of calls in for different areas of town, and we're trying to straighten them out. It takes time. And this one here, we've worked with the property owner now for probably 4 or 5 months, and it's just got to a point where we need to go the next step.
Okay.
So you're seconding that?
I
or
second it.
You second that. Any other discussion on this one? Okay, let's do it. We better do a voice vote, Pam, on this one, please.
Councilperson Alexander?
Yes.
Councilperson Miles?
Yes.
Supervisor Garrett?
Yes.
Councilperson Moore?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, we need a resolution request to approve the memorandum of agreement between the town of Warrensburg, Warren County Public Employees Union Local 1046B and the Council 66 of AFSCME, AFL-CIO. The pay rate for the highway workers covered under this agreement will increase by $1.25 an hour effective retroactively to January 1, 2023 for the remaining of our collective bargaining agreement. And the highway workers came to me at the end of December and said, is there any possibility we could get an increase in the pay? I worked with the highway superintendent. We looked at our pay here for our highway workers. It's a little bit below what other towns around us are paying. There was a lot of heavy increases made because of COVID and the money. And we sat down and we came up with a $1.25 an hour, which I think is very fair. We're fortunate to have one of the best highway departments around the area. They're always out there doing things. Same with the rest of our employees. Our employees are always out there. I get a lot of compliments about the town employees in the town of Warrensburg. So I'm pleased, and I think this is the right thing to do. So I just need a motion from the board to approve it. Motion by John, second by Brian. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. I'll get it signed, Brian. And do you want a copy of this one? Yeah, okay. We'll get this signed tomorrow. Next, I need a resolution to schedule a public hearing on a proposed local law on real property tax exemption for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. The public hearing would be at March 8th, 2023, at the town board meeting at 7 p.m. We touched on this briefly last month. The state of New York has passed a law that said that the towns could offer, not just the towns, all taxing entities could offer a property tax exemption for anybody who serves as a volunteer fireman or a volunteer ambulance worker. Initially, it was thought that this exemption, you could also take there's a exemption on the state income tax for any volunteer fireman currently and ambulance worker currently, that they get $200 off their state income tax. When this law initially was passed, it was thought that this would also supplement that, but it doesn't. So the way the law is currently written, you can take either or. You could take either a real property tax exemption or the state income tax exemption. So anyways, this wouldn't take effect next year. We just want to have a public hearing. The proposed local law would be for 10%. Right now, the law is written, it probably wouldn't benefit anybody in our fire company because to get equal the $200 off your income tax, you'd have to have a house valued over 200 some odd $1,000. And then what you would have to do is you'd have to get every taxing entity from the county to the town to the school district to the fire district. Anybody who got taxes, we'd have to go to, and they would have to do a local law. Am I correct? So it's a heavy lift. But we're going to start it here, and we'll have a public hearing next month to discuss it. So having served 53 years over there and still serving, it's nice for the people coming up. But I've done the math. It really wouldn't help me a bit right now, the way the situation is. But if they make changes in Albany, which there's discussion about it, it could help. Now, if you're in $1 million home, you probably would benefit from it. But we don't have a lot of $1 million homes in our community, and you have to own the property. It's not, you can't rent the property. You must own the property. You can't have the property and lease it out as a short-term rental. You got to live there. And you also have to be a member in the taxing jurisdiction that you want to get the exemption from. So there's a lot of stuff written into the law. It sounded nice when it first came out. I think it caught a lot of the legislators by surprise. They were touting it until you get the forms and said either or. You can't take this or you can't take that. So, but we're working on it. The county will probably pass something in the future. Can't take effect this year because taxable status date is March, and we're not going to get it done by March. But at least we're going to move forward if we want to institute it next year. So we'll have a discussion next month. And did I miss any of the points, Brian? Okay. So I've studied it a little bit. So so is that okay to set a public hearing? Motion by Brian, second by John to set the public hearing for 7 o'clock next March 8th. Okay. Now, in the assessor's report, we talked about the reval, and I have had numerous discussions with our assessor. It's very hard to keep us at 100%. We're at 97% reval now. We are going to drop significantly next year, which is not going to be good for the town and for anybody. We believe that we'll be well under 90% next year, in the 80s, which will be the first time in a long time. It's because the values have changed so much. So I think the proper thing to do is for us to put out bids to hire a company to come in and do a reval. We haven't done a reval in Warrensburg since 2008. So we've been pretty fortunate that we haven't had to. We will try to communicate with the public so people don't get excited about what a reval really means. Usually a reval, a third of people will go up, a third of the people stay the same, and sometimes a third of the people go down. I think the biggest fear is people think they're going to see a huge raise in taxes. But we can certainly have enough information to put out there to the public from day one when they see their house based on the town budgets. We can let them know what they would pay with the new reval. We won't know it completely till the reval is done, but we can keep people informed. So I just like permission to let the assessor go out and create an RFP and do this.
Have to do it.
You all are? Yes?
Makes sense to me.
Okay, then we'll move ahead with the reval. It won't happen next year. I believe that there's a couple 2 or 3 companies that do this, and I think their book's out. So I think everybody's faced with the same rising real estate prices, and we'll try to stay ahead of it. The RFP for legal services has been in the paper, and we're going to get the request back by March 8th. We won't act on it probably till the April meeting, like we said we would. But they're out there, and we've advertised. Next, I need a discussion. I need permission to sell as surplus equipment a 2001 Caterpillar backhoe, and it was used in landfill, water, and sewer department. So somebody make a motion, put it on Gov Deals.
I'll make it.
Brian, second by John. Any discussion? We'll put the 2001 Caterpillar on Gov Deals. All those in favor?
Aye. We historically do very well. with-
Yeah, we've been fortunate. Next up, Deputy Supervisor Alexander, do you want to speak to the streetlights a little bit?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Did,
Okay.
I emailed you fellows the other day. Did you get one?
Yeah.
Do you want to have one in front of you? You know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I want to speak slowly and clearly for those that are in the video. It's, I've already been told that. A year ago, we talked about replacing our streetlights with LED, much more efficient fixtures that we would own instead of having National Grid charge us for their fixtures. And right now, we're over about $107,000 or better budgeted every year, which is getting excessive just for streetlights and for the lighting district. So we looked at this a year ago, and we had a fellow named Casey Mastro come up, talk to us. They've completed what's called a 90% design phase so far. And the last 10%, we needed to make sure we're happy with the numbers and before we want to move forward. So we've been talking back and forth, and the latest summary that they sent day ago looks very favorable to what our needs are, and the savings on both the energy with $27,000 in just energy compared to what we're spending out with halogens compared to LEDs, be about $27,000 a year in energy savings, and about $45,900 in fixture savings. Those are what National Grid is charging us per pole now for their equipment. Compared to owning our own, we'd be saving about $45,900 having our own equipment. So all these numbers together mean something. They come to the point of I see a substantial savings. I want to have one more sit down with Casey. Kevin and I will sit down with Casey. He'll come up and go over the numbers again to make sure we're all comfortable doing this. But the payback now is if we can bond this less than what their conservative figures are, like 4 or 5% here. If we can do better on a bond, we could probably bring this down to less than a 11-year payback, which is to own our own equipment and save that kind of money. It would, I think, be a well advantage to move forward with this project. So I want to get Casey back up here again. Kevin and I will sit down with him and sharpen pencil some more, I hope, and report back to the full board.
Are there any questions? The only way I'll agree to do this if they can prove to me that I'm going to reduce the lighting district tax. And I'm not convinced of that right yet. That's why I've been dragging my feet on this. I told the folks when we initially reviewed this that we were going to reduce the lighting district tax. And if they could prove to me that I can reduce the $120,000 that we're raising in lighting district tax next year or the following years, then I'll agree to it. But I'm not convinced that if the town has to take a bond out to purchase the equipment, we have to make a payment on the equipment. And the way National Grid, we're still going to pay National Grid for electric. We're still going to pay them. So I want Mr. Mastro or whoever to sit, look me in the eye and said, your tax rate will go down next year. And if he could tell me that, then I'd be all more happy to do this.
That's the plan.
I'm not convinced of that. Yes.
How can the tax rate go down if we have to pay bond and we have to pay for electricity?
Well, the electricity you'll be paying compared to halogen right now is estimated to be saving $27,000 in just saved energy using LED. They take a lot less power.
Right, and I understand.
Right.
that. And
So
I
I'm-
understand it's approximately $47,000 a year we won't be paying to National Grid. But from what you're saying, it's close to $900,000 for this to happen. So we've got to pay that note.
Mhm.
And that's an 11-year payback. And so it's going to be 11 years before we start saving money.
But we're setting $100,000 a year now to National Grid. So once again, do we sit down with the Power Authority again to crunch the numbers? To me, the savings looks immense, I think, with 70-30. But then again, I'm in favor of owning our own equipment. Things is the right technology to go forward with. We can dim them ourselves. With computer technology, we can turn them off from a computer board to a terminal. With a lot more flexibility with this system than being held hostage, if you will, with National Grid. So,
Yeah.
but once again, we'll
No,
see what we do there.
I'm very leery, when people come selling me ideas like this, I've got to see it. I got to have somewhat of a Route 9 guarantee that we are going to save on our
Absolutely.
taxes, because that's what we agreed to do when we looked at this. I mean, there are a lot of advantages to doing this. It's also the disadvantage, if we don't, we got to try to get some control over the energy costs, because this year we all took a hit. I mean, you all took a hit. Everybody took a hit. Energy, where we are paying 5 to 7 cents a kilowatt hour, we're paying anywhere 10 to 18 cents a kilowatt hour now. So until I get some assurances, even if the cost of the electric went up a little bit, we could still reduce our lighting district costs. I'll be happy with it. And we should know that as soon as we can corral it here.
We'll do that.
So,
Yep.
In past discussions, John,
Yes.
I may not recall this correctly, but I thought we were gonna have an opportunity to look at some towns that have actually gone through this and see where they stood. I know that there's some other towns locally that might be looking at it.
I think there's several. I got a whole database list of a bunch of them that have gone through the Power Authority. The Power Authority is the state of New York. It's not just a company. It's a state that's doing this.
So have any towns completed the project?
Oh yeah, many. I can send you the database over if you want to call some people, because I remember nothing but favorable comments. Queensbury hasn't stepped forward yet. They're looking at the same program, but they're hearing they got about 1,100 fixtures, but they're also hearing from perhaps the governor might be sending some dollars towards energy savings and maybe assisting these kind of programs, which would be a nice infusion to have more state dollars through the National Power Authority to help with these programs. So that's what Queensbury's kind of waiting on their issue too, because I talked to a couple councilmen down there. So we'll see.
Well,
I just want to get Casey up here one
I
time.
make the analogy that we slow walked it buying scales for our landfill. Remember how long
Oh, yeah.
we troubled over that? We finally did it, and it turned out it was a savings for the people that use them, and we're
We're in the
finally
black.
in the black on
We
that.
definitely are.
So we will be taking a close look at it, and we won't make a decision on this until we know we're gonna
No,
be.
I got it, yeah. So, anybody else? Please step over to the mic so we can get you on. Thank you. And state your name for the record, please. Thank you.
Teresa Whalen. I just have a question about the type of light, because I think what I've seen in a few other locations, one may have been Lake George, and I'm not sure, but where the light seemed a lot different, and like the type of light it produces, maybe there's options, maybe there's different types of light that we could choose from or
There's going to be
something.
options about how much voltage, if you will, you give the fixture. So they're going to be set about 80% lumens right now when they first install them. But we'll have the technology on our Tracy's office that you can turn these down to 30%, up to 100%, depending where we want to and what part of town. That's a huge attraction, I think. But I agree with it. The light is different. I'm colorblind, so I can't really be much use there. But if you go around our town, anything that National Grid now replaces, they're putting LEDs in now for us. So we already have a bunch of LEDs that National Grid's already doing because it's helping the grid itself. they're doing on their own. They're charging us from $8 to about $18 a month for the LEDs they're putting in, and they don't kind of tell you that, but they're doing that to us now also. So it's
Okay.
but there is a difference in light.
There's a difference in light. So another question I had is about the maintenance. Just because I know, like, like with Spectrum, because we pay for maintenance. So if something happens, they come, they replace the equipment, whatever. So what would happen if something goes wrong with some of these lights?
This included in a company it works along with the Power Authority. It's costs about $10,000, about $9,000 some odd dollars a year to have this maintenance agreement.
Oh, okay.
So a 2-year agreement is already factored in this starting program. And so they're figuring about $9,800 a year to have this company for anything, any maintenance or any accidents or poles are taken out or replaced fixtures. It's all kind of included in here.
It's all
Yeah.
included. Oh, okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. My name is Manu Davidson. The question that I have is, in the context of switching out the lighting, would we be replacing the light fixtures and then the town would be owning them and we would basically be paying whatever the cost of electricity is to Con Ed?
National Grid.
Excuse me,
That's kind of the heartburn of this program that I have a problem with, is that we have to buy all these old fixtures from National Grid to the tune of $198,000. We have to buy all this and own this stuff, which basically is not worth anything. But we have to buy the equipment to make room on the pole that they're going to charge us about $7.90 a fixture to rent space on the pole, right? For our own equipment, but we have to buy all their old equipment back. And that's also factored in here, $198,000 just to buy their old equipment and do what with? Salvage. There's a salvage figure here of not a lot of money.
So then if it's replaced and we own the equipment
Correct.
outright and it's installed
Correct.
in the same space or
Correct.
near it?
But on their National Grid pole.
I
So they're
see.
going to charge us a nominal fee like they do for the Spectrum and telephone companies. They're charging everybody a little bit of a fee to be on their poles.
And then in terms of operating the light fixtures?
Yes.
Will there need to be a designated employee or staff for operating them, maintaining them?
No, we'll have the capability. And even the maintenance company could do that for us, but we can have one of our staff members do it also, right, with a laptop. The whole grid, the whole lighting district will be on a grid right now where we can power up a fixture or several fixtures, power them down. It's amazing technology. We can do it right in-house.
And so if there is a savings to the town, how does that savings get passed on to the property owners?
Just to lower your budget.
It'd be in your tax bill. It'd be
Thank you.
through your tax bill. Yeah. I mean, the technology is there, where if we have areas where you want to power up the lights, so it's between the hours of, say, 6 o'clock till midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, you can do that. And then if you want to lower the candle light on the poles after that certain time, or if you have high crime areas or areas where kids are hanging out or stuff, we would be able to control that. If we can just get them where I can show some savings to the taxpayers, we'll do it. And we might, but I have my questions, so.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Dave Matzner. Have we tried to approach using solar lighting
There are
for our
towns that do that.
streets?
There are towns that have little solar panels on their streetlights.
Right, and that'd be controlled with a computer also.
Sure.
So when we don't have enough daylight, we could switch to National Grid. And when we do have a lot of sunlight, we could use the solar. Now, I've seen I put in some lights in my property, and I find them to be phenomenal. During when there's no traffic going by, it dims, it uses minimal electricity, and once a vehicle or a person goes by, it goes on to full lumens. And I think that's something the board might want to look into, invest in that type of.
We've talked about that too.
The only time I've seen those in Greenwich, and I think there's a lot of controversy about that along, I think Route 40 in Greenwich. You know, they had a lot of issues with that type of light over there, but, you know, and I think, didn't you discuss that too?
With Queensbury, we thought about that, but again, you're at the mercy of, I can't say mercy of National Grid. We need National Grid. It's their poles, right? So anything you put on it, you're going to get charged. So they've worked out a deal with the National Power Authority, which is a state agency, for better deals, if you want to call it, right? To get under poles. I know it's just but it is. I looked at all of them the best I could, but the solar technology is good. They were having concerns, like Kevin said, that they were in and out. Sometimes they wouldn't work good, and then finding someone who's going to work on them again.
We certainly will ask the question.
Yeah, there's companies that will come in and do a study on it.
Yeah.
And let you know what the cost would be, what your savings will be, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's something the board should look into.
Brian's correct. We're slow walking this.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
So, okay, thank you for a good discussion. Budget modifications. I have a budget modification in amount of $6,000, taking out appropriate fund balance and putting in a museum contract. Well, we discovered this year that we did not pay the VFW for the rent last year on the museum, so that's why the $6,000 we're catching up with them for the rent for last year, and then we're going to pay them the rent from this year. So we have the one budget modification. Motion to approve that. Motion by Rich. Second by John to approve the budget modification. Budget transfers. Don't like doing these budget transfers this early in the year, but what we're doing is we're making budget transfers from a small amount of medical in the general fund, highway fund, and water district, or putting it into disability. And it's $108.17 from in the general fund, $3.47 in the highway fund, and $26.24 in the water district to pay for disability insurance for our employees in 2023. So somebody want to make the motion? Rich?
Second.
John, to make the budget transfers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Warrant number 2. Tonight we have $94,536 on warrant number 2, and that's to pay the claims for the month of February. So I want to
I'll
make
make
a
that
motion.
motion.
Motion by Brian. To pay the warrants. Second by John.
Yep.
Discussion?
Way
All
better,
those-
way better than last month.
Yes, way better. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Comments? Any comments from the audience on any subject? No comments. Any comments from the town board members? Motion to adjourn.
There you go.
Thank you all for
Thank
coming.
you.
We're out. Thank you.